The Sunny Health and Fitness magnetic rower is a popular lower to mid-range rowing machine option. And in this video, I want to help you determine, is it worth it for you? For those new to the channel, I'm Austin with Training Tall and I'm 6'8". But Training Tall is all about giving you the tips and strategies to help you take your fitness and health above the average, no matter how tall you are. And in this video, I want to talk about everything I can about the Sunny Health and Fitness magnetic rowing machine, how it looks, how it feels, and how it rows. And hopefully by the end of this video, you can get a good idea of if this middle end / lower end price range rowing machine is worth it for you. So let's talk about the dimensions and how it looks. So to kick things off, the first thing you notice is that this machine is about 7 feet long. And one of the biggest issues with a lot of rowing machines is it doesn't accommodate nicely for taller individuals. But with this machine specifically, the seat rail that it has is actually the longest out of any rowing machine that I've used. And me being 6'8" with my legs fully extended, I've got a good 7 to 8 inches left before I would hit the back end. So if you're a taller individual, this is gonna work for you. If you're a shorty, it's gonna work for you. And as far as the physical footprint that it makes, this machine sits really, really low to the ground, probably lowest to the ground out of any rowing machine that I've used, even compared to the really low sitting water rowers. This thing just doesn't take up a lot of space vertically. So no matter what room you're putting this rowing machine in, it's not going to stand out vertically. I'd say one of the best parts about this rowing machine is the seat. This seat is out of this world freaking comfy. It has a very butt-shaped feel to it. Like I'm telling you, you can watch TV on this thing, it's so comfy. And the foam that it uses is soft but firm enough where it gives you the support that you need when you're sitting, but it also is sweat resistant. So the sweat, if you were having the butt sweats, would just wick right off. Overall, a super thought out seat, a very comfy seat, and especially if you're doing a long row, your butt's gonna feel pretty okay on this. I also really like the feel of the handle. And while it may just be a straight bar, it's not a straight bar of plastic. It has a good, grippy, fairly soft foam around it that again feels very sweat resistant and has just enough cushion to most likely prevent you from developing any sort of blisters when rowing with this for a long period of time. The handle itself isn't too narrow. I would say it might be a little better if it was maybe an inch or two wider on each side to accommodate those with broader shoulders, but it's not going to hinder your rowing stroke. Now, when it comes to the foot plates on this rowing machine, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. These things are pretty cheap plastic, and the way that they pivot is not very ergodynamic for rowing, and I'll explain that a little bit further, but these foot plates are also not adjustable. You can tighten your feet in, but if you're someone who has smaller shoes, you might find that the strap placement is a little bit too high on your foot, and if you're someone with bigger shoes, like me, you might find that the strap actually sits pretty low on your foot and just feels a little strange. And there's no way to move that up or down, so you're kind of stuck with what you got. And again, with this cheap plastic, if you pushed hard enough against this thing enough times, you could potentially bend, warp, or even break it. So it definitely lacks the foot plate durability of other rowing machines. All right, so now let's get into how this machine actually rows. How does it feel to row with it? Well, this machine, and like other magnetic rowing machines, are actually pretty much completely silent as you row. Because of the magnetic plates creating the resistance, there doesn't need to be any sort of air whooshing or water swooshing that makes excess noise. So if you're living in an apartment or a place where you want to be mindful of your neighbors or other people in the house, this thing is practically silent. Now, I mentioned earlier that the foot plates pivot at this very strange position that don't allow you to take a fully compressed rowing stroke. You see, when you're taking a fully compressed rowing stroke, the goal is to get your knees over your ankles for the most part. But because they pivot at sort of the midfoot position, if you were to compress knees over ankles, your toes end up pointing downwards. So you're not able to get that optimal quadricep stretch, that optimal leg compression. And so instead, you're sort of stuck to keeping your heels down and getting more of this 3/4 length compression stroke. And even if the foot plates didn't pivot, you still wouldn't be allowed to get that because the machine itself here hinders you from reaching past sort of that set 3/4 position. You can see right here, my handle is already fed into the machine. There's not much farther I could row, where ideally I would want to row all the way out to here to maximize my full body height, to maximize body mechanics for a rowing stroke. Something that you can achieve on the higher end rowers like Concept 2, Water Rower, and Matrix Rower. So instead of having a full range of motion rowing stroke, you're stuck with this 3/4 compression stroke, which isn't the end of the world because you can still get a lot of your muscle groups working, but you're not able to optimize each and every stroke. On this rowing machine, there are 8 different resistance settings, and each one feeling unique and different from the others. But the issue with magnetic rowing machines, and this one is no exception, is that unlike air dampers or water rowers, whenever you're rowing against air or rowing against water, the harder that you take your rowing stroke, the more resistance that you feel initially. With magnetic resistance, there's essentially a constant force that you feel that you can break through if you're stronger than the resistance itself. And what I mean by that is if I have this on the maximum setting and I row as hard as I take one stroke as hard as I can, if I was on a Concept 2 or a water rower, that stroke would feel extremely heavy at the very start, and then I would accelerate to the finish. On this rowing machine, if I'm strong enough, I can just break through the heaviest resistance possible. And so if you're a stronger rower and looking to really progress yourself further, you might soon find out that you outstrong this rowing machine. And so in order to really feel the maximum tension from each stroke, you actually can't row as hard or as fast as possible. You have to slow down your rowing stroke and row a little bit slower like this in order to really feel the resistance throughout. And that's not necessarily inducive to being able to perform high intensity workouts or improve or progress your rowing performance. One thing that you will notice on the higher resistance settings like 6, 7, and 8 is that the magnetic plates sort of reset each and every stroke. It doesn't feel very continuous. As you come up to take the next rowing stroke, you can feel the plates sort of stop, and as you drive back, sort of reset. And so it doesn't feel extremely fluid to have that sticking point, that reset point each and every time. Now, how does this rowing machine track your actual rowing performance? Well, I hate to break it to you, but the monitor here is actually very simple and lacks a lot of the metrics that you would want to use if you're looking to improve your rowing long term or use rowing as an integral part of your fitness routine. This rowing machine only shows you your stroke count, the time that you've been rowing, and an arbitrarily determined calories burned. Which, who knows, that calories burned can be based off of anything because it's not taking into account your body weight, your body size, your fitness level, etc. So really this thing only tells you your stroke count and how long you've been rowing for. It doesn't even tell you your intensity or your speed. How are you supposed to track your progress long term if you don't know how fast or how hard you're rowing? With the lack of being able to see your intensity or even see how many strokes per minute that you're taking, it makes it almost impossible to follow any sort of guided rowing program unless that's a video follow along workout, which I do have plenty of. So let's summarize the pros and the cons and let's come to a conclusion. This rowing machine is extremely affordable for those looking to try rowing that are on a budget. This machine accommodates individuals of all sizes, yet still doesn't take up a lot of space. The seat on this rowing machine is unmatched comfy. It has a great handle for preventing blisters on your hands. When you're rowing, this machine makes virtually no noise at all. And as far as the cons go, this machine doesn't allow you to take a fully compressed rowing stroke. It limits you to more of a 3/4 full stroke. The plastic foot plates on this thing are very flimsy, and if you rowed long enough and hard enough, you can most likely bend or break them. These magnetic resistance settings might be challenging for those that are beginners or those that don't have a lot of experience with exercise, but over time you might find that you can out-muscle the resistance itself. Due to the simplicity of the rowing monitor, it makes it virtually impossible to track your progress, track your improvements, or follow any sort of workout rowing plan. So my final thoughts on this rowing machine: I'm gonna be completely honest, I definitely think it's worth saving a few more $100s to purchase one of the higher end rowing machines. Unless you're looking to use this machine as maybe something to use as a quick timed interval in the midst of some sort of circuit training workout where you're not necessarily focused on improving your performance or using this machine a lot, you're just using it for an interval here or there, it can be good for that. A good way to add in a little bit of cross training. But if you're someone who's really looking to progress with rowing, who's serious about using rowing as a main part of your fitness, this isn't gonna be the best machine for you, and it's well worth it to save up the few extra $100 and invest in a better rowing machine. I hope this review could help you out. If you're looking for rowing training plans, I've got those linked down below. I've also got follow-along workouts here on the YouTube channel and on my exclusive training page, Hit Plus. You can check that out if you're interested in more from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more fitness and rowing content, and I'll see you in the next video.